So I see this all the time in my comic section, and I want to address this. First off, let's talk about it, okay? Trade away Orlando Brown Jr. I see it all the time in my comic section. I see it in the live stream. Talk about it, and it's always the same answer, but I do want to kind of go down and break this down in the video. First off, in order to trade him away, you have to have a replacement. Like, you have to have someone who would take over for him, and the answer to that cannot be, well, anyone is better than Orlando Brown Jr. That cannot be the response to that statement. It ends up always being the response to that statement that, well, you know, a 3-year-old child could be a better player. No, they would not. At the end of the day, he has not looked good since he has joined Cincinnati. You look at his pass blocking grades, 66.6, 69.5, 64.1. You go to his run blocking grades, surprisingly enough this year so far it's actually up, but with how bad we are at run blocking, I'm going to assume that it's just going to go down, 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 and continue to plummet down. And this is going to be statistically, most likely, his worst year. I say most likely because, you know, there could always be a turnaround for him. You never know. But for right now, he is arguably one of the worst on this offensive line when it comes to how he's performing. Now, again, with that being said, our line in general does not look good. So this is not just one player type of concept. Obviously, if the rest of the line is not looking good, then, you know, the left tackle is not going to look amazing either, because there's going to be situations where he gets beat because someone else doesn't do their assignment. We looked at him yesterday, though, and I'll be honest, looking at his game tape, it's rough. It's very, very rough versus the Vikings. He did not have a good game, and that's going to start this talk of, hey, maybe it's time to move on from Orlando Brown Jr. Here's the problem. It's a twofold issue. First off, you have to find someone to actually trade for him. So, starting off right away, we had a potential out actually after last season, but we decided to keep him. So, that's kind of like, you know, our situation here. If we did trade him, he would be costing a team $6.4 million this year, $13.1 million next year. He has 2 years left on his contract, and then he becomes an unrestricted free agent. The second problem is going to be not only his contract, again, finding a team that wants him. Finding a team that wants to trade for him and would like to have him as their left tackle. And again, when you have a guy like this who's coming off a very bad statistical year, you're going to have some trouble finding a suitor because, again, nobody wants to trade for a left tackle who's looking like the worst possible left tackle out there. I'm sure there's going to be somebody who does, you know, go out there and say, hey, we'll trade for him. We'll give you, like, I don't know, a 3rd, 4th round pick. But the Bengals are not going to do that. And that's just kind of the fact. You know, we also got to keep in mind whenever we're thinking about these trades is we have to figure out, okay, who would we trade to, 1? And 2, would the Bengals even accept or work with that team? And 3, what kind of delusional trade are the Bengals looking to get? Because the Bengals are not a team that are going to trade him for pennies on the dollar. They have never been like that. It doesn't matter who the player is. Jonah Williams wanted to leave Cincinnati, and they still refused to trade him for pennies on the dollar. And you're not going to ever see that from Cincinnati. It doesn't matter what the circumstances are. Cincinnati is a team and an ownership that likes to get the most out of all their players. And for better or for worse, they're going to try to get every single inch they can when it comes to the players. They're not going to just get pennies for the players. It's just not going to work. So that's also a factor. And then the glaring factor in the room is if we traded him, who is his replacement? Who is going to take over for him, right? Now, you could move Matt Lee, I would say Matt Lee to center. But, I mean, even then, I mean, that's, I don't know why I said that. Because that, again, you could move Matt Lee to left tackle potentially, because he has played left tackle before and he's successful. Teddy K at center, Fairchild at left guard. Right guard would be Dalton or Jalen Rivers. And then right tackle would be Mims. The only other option would be Cody Ford at left tackle. You're not putting Jalen Rivers at left tackle. He's already showed us he's not good at tackle. So Cody Ford would be the only other option. You could go out there and try to get someone in free agency. But I'm deciding if I even want to bring up free agency with how bad free agency is, but let's just do it. Viewer discretion advised. I almost died saying that. Okay, so when I go left tackles, it doesn't just give me available. Okay, there we go. It wouldn't look for a second. Whatever. Anyway, we got Willis. We got Isaiah Wynn, Clark, Chris Hubbard, Dante Smith, Quinn Bailey, and Connor Gavin. That's the options at left tackle in free agency. Listen, you're probably not. You're probably not looking at free agency. So again, it's one of those sticky situations where you want to get rid of him because he doesn't look good, but you just don't have an option to replace him. And unless we have or find an option to replace him, you're going to keep Orlando Brown Jr. That's just kind of how it is. You can't go out there with no left tackle. And I know some people are going to say, well, no left tackle is better than Orlando Brown Jr. It's not the facts. Like, you would literally get killed out there without left tackle. And, yeah, it is what it is, right? So that's kind of the mentality right now and where things are. Hopefully things get figured out when it comes to him starting to progress and getting better. But watching that Vikings game was very, very tough. The guy just got beat every single play, left, right, and center. And it looked embarrassing. It really did. But at the end of the day, again, you have to have someone to replace him with. And right now, there is no one out there that I feel like, first off, the Bengals would be able to make a trade to get. Because that's another thing. The Bengals are not an easy team to work with when it comes to trading for someone. They're just not. They're a very, very annoying back and forth. They don't like to trade. They just don't respond type of team. And not a lot of teams like to work with players or teams like that because it's kind of difficult. You know, it's difficult to work with a team that is kind of like a 3-year-old child trying to negotiate. Like, it just doesn't work out. So, it is what it is. I would love to see, our line get better. So, if we did trade him and get some actual capital for him and got some good stuff for him, I'd be beyond tickled pink. But I just don't think that's the scenario right now. So we have to wait and see. But yeah, that's kind of how I'm thinking right now. It sucks. It really does. Because at this point in time, we need to make this offensive line better. And one step at a time. But I also feel, my personal opinion here, that it's a schematic issue. It's a scheme issue. It's not just a Orlando Brown Jr. issue. And the line would play a lot better if you had a better scheme and you called better plays and you didn't put the offensive line in situations where they're destined to fail. So, again, like I said, I think this is a bigger issue than just, wow, the line sucks. I don't think this is a plug and replace type of situation because we tried to do that with Dalton, Reisner, and then it didn't work out. So I think there are situations where you also got to realize it's not just a simple solution here. It's a lot more detailed of a problem than I think people realize. So that's also my mentality with all this. Again, like I said, there's a lot. And we're going to find out tomorrow night because we're about to play against one of the best defensive lines in the game. And we did that week 1, and we actually did survive versus the Vikings and Brownies. And we did against the Vikings as well. And we survived somewhat, not really. So, we'll see. We'll see how it all works out. Tell me down below your thoughts, opinions. See you guys next one.